All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mason Tidings, and I'm a dietetic intern here at Community Servings. Welcome to this week's episode of Learning Kitchen Live. This week, we're going to be making simple turkey tacos. Now, let's jump right into it because it is going to take about 10 minutes or so for everything to cook. So, we'll just kind of get started, and I can just talk us through as we go here. So, I have my pan here that I've heated on medium to high heat. I'm going to start by adding in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. All right. Next, I have my chopped bell peppers. I'm using red today. Feel free to use any color that you have access to. Yellow, green, orange, they all work great. Gonna dump this in here. Kind of mix this around. Turn this down a little. All right. Now we're gonna let this saute for like a minute or two to kind of get those flavors and juices to come out before we go ahead and add our ground turkey in to go in and kind of soak them all up. Mixing this. So this is a very easy and straightforward recipe with minimal preparation and minimal cleanup, which I love and I'm sure others can relate to as well. I personally am not a huge cook, and this is one of my go-to recipes. So if I can do this, so can you. This recipe uses less than 10 ingredients, and you can kind of play around with the ingredients as you see fit as well. I mean, you could add in some more veggies, some cabbage, or some onion. You could play around with your protein source if you wanted to do ground chicken or ground turkey. Or you could even do a black bean option as like a vegetarian protein option. You could add in some low-fat cheese for some extra calcium. The opportunities with tacos really are endless, which is why I am such a huge fan of them. Let's go ahead and give our peppers a little mix here. They look pretty good. All right. Now we're going to go ahead, add in our ground turkey. Grab this. We don't want to cook the paper. And now I'm going to go ahead and ground this up into a nice small consistency. The finer that you ground it up, the faster it will cook. So you don't want any big chunks of meat in there. Kind of get it all mixed around. Grounding it up. And ground chicken or ground turkey or ground beef is a great option because let's say you see it on sale at the store or something, you can go ahead and snag it and stick it in the freezer and just kind of have it on hand for whenever you want to use it. Starting to get a little more rounds up. Right. Great. Probably use a bigger spoon here. That's okay. All right. Got to get nice and down to that small consistency. Kind of mixing in those peppers in there. All right. Starting to look good. And you can see the turkey is already starting to brown a little bit, which is a good sign. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and add in our spices. We are going to do 1 teaspoon of chili powder. Put that in, as well as 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. Make sure it's all even. And this should take about, I mean, it's already starting to look pretty brown, but it should take about 5 or so minutes to cook fully through. I'm going to make sure that those spices are all throughout. All right, great. Now we'll go ahead and let that cook a little. All right, and while that cooks, we're gonna go ahead and slice up our avocado to use as a topping. I've already went ahead and sliced it in half. I'm gonna go ahead and take this pit out. That. And now I will be honest, I am not great at this. Like I said, I am not a cook myself, but I am guilty of just cutting my avocado in half and then squeezing out however much I want to use, but we're not going to do that today. Just gonna go ahead, kind of make little slices. That when it is time to use the topping, we can just kind of use our spoon and spoon it out nicely. All right, we'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, perfect. Gonna go check on our meat. Stir that around a little bit more. Already looking nice and brown. It's a great sign. All right. Now while that continues to cook, it takes some time to highlight the importance and the components of a well-balanced meal, just for general healthy eating, as well as how this meal more or less portrays that idea. So generally we want about half of our plate coming from non-starchy vegetables. These are things like broccoli, asparagus, carrots, mushrooms, the list goes on. Our veggies are good because they're full of fiber, which is great to keep our digestive tract healthy, as well as to help us feel full without having to eat so many calories. So vegetables are a low calorie food, but we can eat like a moderate portion of them and feel pretty full just because of that fiber content in there. So half of our plate veggies, a quarter of our plate we want to come from a lean protein source. So these are things like chicken, fish, eggs. We want them to be a lean protein source because they have less saturated fats in them, and are more heart healthy than things such as like beef, pork, lamb, all of the red meats. Over-consuming foods that are high in saturated fat can increase our cholesterol and increase our risk of things like heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, things like that. That's not to say you should never have any of those foods, but it is a good idea to kind of opt for those lean protein options more often than not. So half of our plate veggies, quarter protein. That last quarter we want to be made up of whole grains or starchy foods. So these are things such as brown rice, quinoa, potatoes, pasta. If you can remember all the way back to your biology class in high school, these foods are part of the carbohydrate family, which is our body's primary energy source. So very important to have them, but in appropriate portion sizes. And then having a meal that follows this general style is good to help make sure that you're incorporating a variety of foods that are well balanced so that you're getting all of your vitamins, minerals, all of your protein, fiber, things like that. And this is good to help make sure we have good energy, for blood sugar balance, make sure that your body's able to make your adequate hormones to help keep it survive, good for overall metabolic health, and so many other things. Let's check in on our meat here. Still looking good. And this meal does more or less portray that idea, that well-balanced plate. We've got our whole grain source coming from our tortillas. We've got our lean protein coming from our turkey, our non-starchy veggies from our bell peppers, which are a great source of fiber and vitamin C. And we have some additional benefits coming from our pico. Now, one thing to note about our pico, we are going to be making our own today, using tomatoes, cilantro, garlic, jalapenos, lime juice, and onions, and salt. It's super easy. I've pre-cut and pre-portioned everything. Just going to dump them all in the same bowl. Go ahead and do that here. . Go ahead and do like half of this garlic, about half of this jalapeno, in case no one likes it too spicy. And then I will dump all of this onion in. Then I already pre-squeezed some fresh lime juice. We'll just throw that on top. And I will add a few pinches of salt. Then we're just gonna mix. And you can also do a store-bought option. There are plenty of options out there. I will say that making it at home allows you to be able to control the salt content that goes in. The ones in the store can have a decent amount of sodium in there, so if there are options, it would be good to turn the package over, look at the nutrition facts label, look at that sodium content, and opt for the one that has the least amount in it. But super easy to make your own. It can taste a lot fresher as well. And we want to be mindful of that sodium content just because it can help reduce things like blood pressure and also, again, reduce that risk of heart disease, stroke, heart attack. Trust me, us Americans get plenty of salt in our diet without even trying, so no worries there. But this pico really works to help give really good flavor because it uses such strong ingredients like the onion, like the cilantro, like the fresh lime juice. All right, that looks pretty good. Our meat looks great as well. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this down because it is starting to look. I'm going to go ahead and turn on this burner for our tortillas. Like medium heat. You could also do it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. Either one works fine. Honestly, this step is preferential. I prefer the tortillas warm. Makes me feel like I'm at a restaurant with that nice steamy basket of tortillas that they give you. But if temperature doesn't matter to you, feel free to skip this step. Let that get a little warm. So we also have our avocado as well, which is going to be a little bonus of fiber as well as some healthy unsaturated fat. So remember how I mentioned that red meat is primarily made up of saturated fat and should be limited. Our avocado, on the other hand, is a source of unsaturated fat, which is great for us. Other sources of this include things like olive oil, olives themselves, canola oil, nuts, seeds. These are all a great option for us and definitely a good part of a healthy diet. Pretty warm. Go ahead and add one tortilla to our pan just to warm it up so I can show you what a final product should look like. Meat looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and flip this just so we get it warm on both sides. Again, 30 seconds about, nothing crazy. And then one last thing I did just want to touch on was the fact that we use the chili powder and the cumin powder to season our meat. Seasonings and spices are a great tool to help kind of minimize the amount of salt that you need to put into your food and still give it flavor. Spices are also a great source of antioxidants, which are things that help neutralize free radicals or potentially damaging molecules to our cells. So any spices that you like are great. Go for it. Can be a really good option for you. All right. Our tortilla is warm. Go ahead and put it on our plate here. Turn off the burner here. All right, let's check on our turkey. Yep, looks nice and brown. And most of that olive oil is kind of been all soaked up. We can go ahead and turn this off here. Got our warm tortillas. All right, final step, I'm just going to show you what our final product should look like. Take our tortilla, scoop in about a spoonful or so of meat, making sure I'm getting those bell peppers in there. Ooh. All right. We'll do a little bit for good luck. Pre-St. Patty's Day. And then we'll go ahead and scoop out some of our avocado. About like 2 slices or so. Oh. And then just gonna go ahead and do 2 spoonfuls of our freshly made pico. Drizzle that on there. And then final touch, I pre-cut some fresh limes. I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze some fresh lime juice on here for some extra flavor. This also gives it a little bit more vitamin C. All right, and there we have it. These are our simple turkey tacos. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's Learning Kitchen Live. Hope you enjoyed it. Tune in for next week's recipe. And just as a reminder, this week's recipe will be posted in the comments section below. Again, thanks for joining. Bye.